All right, so convertible bonds, the first thing you need to know is what we're going to do at issuance. And issuance is just like a non convertible bond. So we don't have a separate account for the value of the conversion feature. Under IFRS, that's not the case, but under US GAAP, this is the case. For the issuance, we're going to just go look at brief exercise 16.1. You have premium accounts, par accounts, bonds payable holds the face value. I'm not going to go over that accounting because we covered that with regular bonds. The only thing you're learning here is that at issuance, treat the convertible bond as if it were a non convertible regular bond. Okay. We are going to do the conversion, but let's just talk about it right now. For conversion, we're going to record at the historical cost. So you're going to have a bond that's amortizing its premium or its discount, and you amortize fully up to the date of the conversion. Then you're going to remove the bond payable, remove the premium or discount, and then issue stock at that cost. And this is why, since it's recorded, not really at its historical cost, I should say amortized cost. That's probably a little bit better. All right, that's why we call this the book value method. Okay, it's the book value method. Sometimes to convince a bondholder to convert, you have to do what's called provide an inducement. The induced conversion is going to look just like the conversion under book value, but any amounts paid for the inducement will just add to the debt conversion expense. Okay, so an induced conversion looks just like a conversion, plus any cash payments made to induce the conversion are debited to debt conversion expense. And then finally, the accounting for early retirement looks just like a non convertible bond. All right. So, what you want to do is see, open up your book to brief exercise 16.1. Where did you go? Okay, I'm back, and here's some notes for the conversion on brief exercise. So, brief exercise 16-1. So, we're going to use that set of facts. So, when you convert a bond or convertible preferred, either way, it's going to be the book value method. So, like when you dispose or get rid of anything, you have to remove all the associated accounts. And for a bond, you have the bonds payable, which holds the face value. That's a credit. You have to debit that. If it's a premium, that's a credit. It has to be debited to remove it. If there's a discount, the discount has to be credited to remove it. So you learn this with bonds. All right. But instead of having a cash payment to remove it, what you're going to do is issue stock because it's converted to stock. So the credit's going to be stockholders' equity. So in brief exercise 16.2, and this follows from 16.1, which is just the issuance. Once again, not going to look at it. It's a convertible bond issue. You couldn't tell the difference between a normal bond issue and a convertible. They have $2,000, $1,000 bonds. So maybe you have to remind yourself of your bond accounting, but bonds trade in $1,000 increments. So this is 2 million times 1,000. This is or 2,000 times 1,000. That's 2 million in bonds payable, which is, the face value of the bonds. I'm going to work on my art a little bit if I'm going to keep making these videos. That looks like a jack-o'-lantern now. Not good. Okay, so let me redo my face value. That was a little too scary. So let's see if I can just get something that looks. Okay, that looks a little bit like a happy face. There we go. All right. So 2 million in bonds payable, which is the face value. Now for each bond, you need a conversion ratio. And here it is, 50 shares for every bond. Okay? So usually what you get is you'll be told the face value is 2,000 or 2 million. If you take 2 million divided by $1,000, that equals 2,000 bonds. All right? Why am I telling you this? Normally, you will not be given the number of bonds. Normally, you'll be given the face value, and you take FV, not fair value or future value, face value divided by 1,000 equals number of bonds. Okay, but the number of bonds was given to you here. Each bond is convertible into 50 shares of $10 par value common. So how many shares are going to be issued? 50 times 2,000. The bonds are going to be converted when the unamortized discount is 30,000. So this is a very nice thing they did for you here. You don't have to calculate the unamortized premium or discount. And the market price is $21 per share. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care. Because it is the book value method. Not the fair value method. Not the market value method. The book value method. So, bonds payable holds the face value. Bonds payable holds the face value. Remove it. There was a discount, which is a normal debit balance, so we're going to credit it to remove it. Common stock. I'll just put a little, just to remind you, par. $10 is 2,000 times 500, or excuse me, times 50. All right, that's 100,000 there. So this is 100,000 shares that are being issued. These are actually being issued in exchange for the bond or bonds. All right, that's where the million comes from. 2 million less 30,000 is 1.97 million. So this is the carrying value of the bond equals the common stock issued, which in this particular case is 1.97 million. Okay, so these two here are 1.97 million, and these two here are 1.97 million. Whenever you know the carrying value of the bond, you instantly know how much, what's the value of the stock being issued. Okay, the book value of the stock being issued. Obviously, the market value would be 21 times 100,000, so 100,000 shares. All right, 2.1 million. So basically, you know, the existing stockholders are coming up a little short. If the shares had been in the current market, they would have been at 2.1 million, but somebody that issued a bond was able to get, and then later converted, was able to get those shares for 1.97 million. All right, and brief exercise 3 is an induced conversion. Sometimes the bondholders go, you know what? I think this bond looks better than the stock, but the corporation needs to get them out of the way for some reason. Typically, it's because they're going to reorganize their capital structure. Maybe there's an acquisition. They're being acquired. So they need to get the bondholders out of the way. They'll be offered extra cash, which is, you know, called a sweetener, and you just expense it. So it's the same problem as before. Same problem as before. We have $2 million bond payable, 30,000 unamortized discount. Common stock is at par is $10 times 100,000 shares is $1 million. All you do is tack on for every dollar of inducement this thing called debt conversion expense. Okay, so that's convertible debt at book value. Preferred stock, very, very similar. You'd have, except you just would write off the preferred stock and additional paid in capital preferred stock. A little easier because you don't have to deal with amortization. And then you would issue the stock at the cost of the preferred stock. Issue the common stock at the cost of the preferred stock. Okay, so these are convertible. The convertible securities, what does that once again mean? You exchange the security you have, which is usually a preferred stock or a debt security, in exchange for common stock. And it's done at the book value. Market value is not relevant. All right. We're going to see the warrants are different. Warrants are different. Here you have to exchange the security for the stock. There you get to keep the base security and exercise the warrant. Okay, so that's coming up.